Hello and welcome to this RadioTimes.com World Cup live chat. My name's Tim Glanfield, editor of RadioTimes.com, and today I'm very pleased to be joined by Ketch from Match of the Day magazine, which is out every Tuesday here.
That's right, yes, every Tuesday.
Today we're going to be previewing the England game on Thursday night against Belgium, as well as talking about how the World Cup's gone so far and how far England might be able to go in this tournament. So, Ketch, what do you think of the World Cup so far? Good tournament?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think Russia have done a great job. Before the tournament, there was a bit of worry about hooliganism, racism. There's been none of that. All the locals have been fantastically friendly, speaking to people who are out there. The transport links are great. The stadiums are full. The atmosphere is amazing. And it's just got really character. Everything's big and grandiose, and I'm really getting into it.
How do you think it sort of compares to tournaments in recent history for kind of atmosphere and for theatre?
Well, it's definitely, bigger in terms of travelling around. You're talking 9-hour, flights to get out to Ekaterinburg to watch a game on top of some scaffolding. But very impressively put together scaffolding. It looks very safe.
That's one of the most talked about grounds, isn't it?
Yeah, I was
sort of cut the side off it.
Where we were saying it looks like someone's just transporting an old mattress to the tip at the weekend, just hanging off the back of the stadium. But they needed to do that to bring it up to the capacity they needed to be 35,000. That's the minimum requirement. So it's doing a job, and it looks great. And it's out near Siberia, so if you're going to a game there, you do need to wrap up warm.
Yeah, it might be a chilly breeze coming in, even in the summer. So we talked about the organisation, which seems to be great. But what about the football? Has it been a good tournament football-wise for you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been loads of talking points. There's been loads of great goals. I'm loving the fact that Harry Kane's turned up and he's leading the Golden Boot race. It's incredible. We couldn't have asked for a better start, and he looks like he's really been practicing penalties.
Away, yeah.
I mean, if he makes that connection and hits that penalty every time, it's physically impossible for a keeper to save. So fingers crossed he can replicate that in any other VAR penalties or any penalty shootouts he might encounter.
It's very unusual as well to be mentioning England and being good at penalties.
It really is. That's why I just wanted to get that one in early, because it's fantastically refreshing to see that.
Are any teams or players that so far have really stood out to you in the tournament?
Yeah. Croatia have stood out to me. They've won all their games. They look really driven. There's a lot of leaders in that team, a lot of Champions League experience, and Modric, he's just dragging the team through games. Scored a fantastic goal. He's really coming up to be 33 now. He knows it's his last World Cup. I think he could be maybe a contender to be player of the tournament, and I think they're kind of in a nice little side of the group. I think maybe they could maybe do a bit of a Leicester, surprise a few people, go deep into the tournament. So I've really enjoyed watching Croatia. I think Russia have totally surprised everyone. Their own media completely wrote them off. Worst Russian team of all time. Not the case at all. They strolled their first two games. They struggle against Uruguay, but when the host nation comes in and plays well, it makes such a difference, lifts the whole country. And I'm looking forward to seeing them give Spain a really good game.
There's a sense that they were already through, weren't they, against Uruguay, so maybe didn't need to win that game, and maybe, I'm sure they want to win every game, but perhaps there's more to come from Russia. We are live at the moment, so if you've got anything to say, if you've got any questions for Ketch, or you want to say anything about the World Cup so far, or England's chances, do write your comments underneath, and we'll try to either say hello or address them or answer them, or maybe agree or disagree with you. So we'll see how that goes. Ketch, we're going to have to talk about England now, because they're doing all right at the moment, aren't they? 2 games in, 2 wins. Can't really complain about that. How do you rate our performances in the first 2 games? First against Tunisia, and then obviously the big one against Panama.
Yeah, Tunisia was the potential banana skin. We started amazingly well, creating chance after chance. We missed a few chances, which was frustrating. Then we got a bit of bad luck. Kane didn't get a VAR decision. Then Walker was pulled up on a VAR decision. And then all of a sudden, they've parked the bus and it's over to you, England. Can you break us down? But what I liked about us was we didn't panic. We kept going. It was the spirit of, Alex Ferguson's Man U team, late last-minute goals. As a Newcastle fan, I'm not used to that happening. But they kept the faith. And they obviously, we look really dangerous from set pieces, and the Maguire knockdown and Kane, brilliant finish. That's a very hard finish. The ball's coming towards him, not at the perfect height, it's spinning, and he's directed into the top corner in the last minute, and then, cue beer everywhere in happy days, England.
You talk about VAR as well. I mean, it played quite a big part in that game, in the sense that there were a couple of shouts for Kane being pulled over in the area, which didn't seem to be referred to VAR, and certainly weren't awarded as penalties. That seems to be changing as the tournament's gone on. What do you think of VAR so far?
In a strange way, I'm into it. I like that, people who are trying to be sneaky on corners, for example, Panama, You know, you can't be doing wrestling moves on players in the box. I like that that's being pulled up. There's the what we don't like obviously is the lull in the time to refer a decision. Is it going to be VAR'd? And obviously if you score a goal and there's been a bit of a challenge, you don't want to be then stopping your celebration. So there's little kinks to be worked out. The only problem, it's also reversed a lot of correct decisions. So it's got more than it's got wrong right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so I'm a big fan of it. The only problem is when you put it in the hands of an incompetent official who's not strong enough to make the right call. That's when it's let down, but it's not because of the technology, it's because of the official.
I guess that's human error is always going to happen. It is basically just another way for another human to be involved in the decision.
Yeah, so it's the subjectivity, and people are saying, no, I hate VAR, scrap it. It's just not going to happen. It's here now. Let's get used to it. Let's make it more efficient, and it's just going to become part of the game.
Do you think the refs are using it wisely and are listening to the decisions and the options they've now got? Because there's a sense of maybe do some of the referees think I don't want to do what the TV tells me. I made the decision, I'm right. And even if they watch it again, they kind of don't want to overrule themselves.
Well, I'd love to be privy to some of the conversations that they're having, the guys in the TV studio to the referee. I'd like to think that they're going, look, you've got that. We think you've got that wrong. Have a good look at that. We think you should overturn that decision. And I'd want all stubbornness and pride to go out the window. Yeah. Let's just make the right call. That's why the system's been put in place.
And where do you stand on the VAR officials wearing footballing clothes and sitting in Moscow in a TV studio?
I think it's brilliant.
Necessary?
I think it's brilliant. Give them a flag as well.
Do they have boots and shin pads on?
I'd love to think
so.
so.
Sort of, that low down, but I'd hope so.
Maybe a bit of 3G as well, just to give them the cushioned feel as they sit down at their chair. But I think it's fantastic.
I hope there's at least AstroTurf on the floor in their studio. We've got a message here from Jack. He says, "Can England beat Belgium?" We're going to get to that, but let's move on to firstly onto the Panama game, and then we'll move on to looking at the Belgium game. How do you think the Panama? Obviously, good score. You can't really complain about 6 goals. We did let one in though.
Yeah.
What do you think of that performance, and what can we learn from it?
Well, to be 5-0 up at half time is brilliant. There's not many negatives that can come out of it. The only negative I'd say is we did concede a goal. So we haven't kept a clean sheet yet, so I would have liked to see us keep a clean sheet so that there are vulnerabilities at the back, set pieces. So that's the only negativity. But what I particularly liked was just the clinical nature of England, ruthless finishing, and the John Stones, the second goal, which was something out of an NFL playbook. The players running over like, shall we try this? Shall we try this? You could see that they were comfortably in the lead. They thought, shall we try the move that we've been practicing?
Yeah.
And apparently, Gareth Southgate said that all came from the players. They engineered the move, and it was like 4 different elements had to come together. Sterling actually missed a chance, but there was a plan B. Stones followed up and headed it in. I just loved that there's a big plan, and I love how dangerous we look from set pieces.
And so we'll talk about Gareth Southgate. He's the manager. It's one of the youngest squads ever to go to the World Cup. He's a youngish manager and relatively inexperienced by England manager standards. What sense are we getting about what do we know about him now from these first few games? Where do we think he's taking the team? Do we think he's doing a good job?
I think he's doing a great job. I think the whole thing with Gareth is he's trying to create a relaxed environment. He saw what happened in Euro 2016. England, there was a lot of nerves around the Iceland game. We lost a game we should have won. He's just trying to put everyone at ease, relax, and he knows they're good players, so if he can relax them, get them playing like they play for their clubs, then there's a potential for us to go deep into this tournament. And he seems like a nice guy. I know he's a nice guy. I met him last year and did an interview with him. Such a nice guy. I came away from that thinking, God, I want this guy to succeed. And a lovely little story came out yesterday. Danny Rose did an interview with BBC 5 Live, and he said that Gareth, had been calling him while he was away with while he wasn't on international duty, calling him at Spurs, making sure he's all right. And Rose came out and said he'd been suffering from depression at some periods this year, and he's talking about how they went for a walk before the Costa Rica game, just checking in with his players like that. I think it reminds me a little bit of Bobby Robson, putting players at ease, making them feel safe.
And this is a guy who's been through kind of the highs and lows of modern international football. The Euro '96, getting to the semi-finals and missing the penalty. That must help sort of connect with the players, I guess. Like he can sort of say to them, I know what it feels like. It's not just a man on the outside saying, right, go and score a goal. It's someone who's been through it, knows the pressures of being, with 3 lions on your shirt and all that. And do you think that's helping?
Absolutely.
Been through the ringer with them?
It's very conceivable that we could, be involved in a penalty shootout at this World Cup, and he's going to get a chance to, he's going to get 30 seconds before they line up to take the penalties. And I'd love to know what he's going to say to them, because he will be able to say, look, I know how you're feeling. Don't do what I do.
Show me YouTube videos and don't do this.
Put your foot through it.
And you talk about him being a nice guy, but something that's also really noticeable about Southgate, and when you look at England managers of the past, the press have responded really well to him. They're being nice to him. After the Tunisia game, they could have found fault with some of the performance, but actually all the write-ups were pretty positive. It was all kind of, they saw the good in what happened rather than we only just about beat a team who we really should have easily beaten. And do you think that helps as well? There's sort of positivity, there's forward momentum. Everyone seems to be rooting for the guy and for the team at the moment rather than gunning for him. Historic managers, well, we've seen some of the treatments from the tabloids in the past, but it feels like no one's going for him at the moment.
Well, Gareth Southgate and the England comms team, I would say as a whole, they've really changed in the last 2 years. It's more open and exclusive. Like working on Match of the Day, I feel like I can email the comms team and request an interview with a player, and they're being very obliging. Also, in the build-up to the tournament, the entire media pack were invited to St George's Park, the England camp, and we had 45 minutes with the players at media day. The concept was based on what the NFL do during Super Bowl week. So you get 45 minutes, you can speak to any player you want, you queue up, you get 5 minutes. So there's a big openness, and throughout that, towards the end of that, Gareth Southgate just came in and was just walking around and they did a bit of a chat at the end. So there's this openness. So if he's being nice to the press, hopefully the press can be nice back. Although there has been the team sheet incident where some press decided to print the team sheet. But apart from that, the relationship looks as good as it's ever been.
News is news, right? People are going to always want an exclusive, and they're always going to want to have their heads up. But that is, I think that is a significant change. So let's move on to Belgium, Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Jack has asked, do you think England can beat Belgium? Do you think England can beat Belgium?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the vibe that's we've scored. We've scored 8 goals, and Harry Kane looks unstoppable. He looks confident. This is a team that we know about. We know a lot of their players. Tunisia, Panama, we didn't know a lot about their players. There's 12 players in the Belgium squad who all play in the Premier League, and numerous others who have played the Premier League. So this is not an unknown quantity. I think this could have more of a feel of a Premier League game. The pressure's off. Both teams are qualified. So I'd like to think both sets of players will be a bit more relaxed. And I think England being more relaxed is only a good thing.
Yeah. And you talk about sets of players. Who do you think's going to play? Do you think Southgate's going to rest players? Is he going to try out different options, or is he going to play the first team and this is a big game and go out there and try and win it with the best team he's got?
Well, it's massively tempting to rest your key players. I think Belgium will make more changes than England. They've got 3 key players on yellow cards, so De Bruyne, Meunier and Vertonghen, I think. So if they pick up a yellow card in this game, they're out the last 16. That's not what they want to happen. Yeah. So they're at risk of being rested. Lukaku missed training yesterday for Belgium. He's got a ligament injury, so it's tempting to rest Lukaku. Yeah. And they've got Batshuayi, who's a perfectly able replacement. Hazard also had a little calf strain against Tunisia, so again, key player. Do you want to risk him? Martinez is going to be tempted to take him out. He's got quite a good squad, so I think he could swap it out. Southgate might be tempted to rest Kane, but are you going to rest a guy who is chasing a golden boot? I don't think so. I don't think you rest your captain.
Right?
Yeah, so I can't see that happening.
Feels like he's got to start.
Yeah,
and maybe take him off, after half time.
Yeah. If you drop Kane, you risk, upsetting him, and you don't want that at all. I think they'll play with an understanding. 50, 60 minutes. Look up, the board's coming up. You're coming off. So I think that's what happened. And then Ali will probably come back in. Dele Alli had a thigh strain. I think he'll come back in for Loftus-Cheek. And then elsewhere, Trippier, he's had a thigh injury as well. So what you might do is bring Rose in, who could do with a bit of game time, play him at left wing back. Switch Ashley Young over to right wing back. There's no left footers in our starting 11, so get Rose in for a bit more balance. So a couple of changes there I could maybe see.
And tactically, you think we're going to go and try and win the game? We're not going to go out there for a draw.
No,
absolutely. We're going to go out there. There's the big thing that everyone's talking about. And we'll get onto the permutations of who England might play in the next rounds in a minute. But everyone's saying, perhaps it's slightly easier if you come second in this group. Are England the sort of team who go out and play to lose or to draw? They've got to lose really if they want to come second.
Yeah, it's a bit of a non-argument for me really. England obviously want to win. I think in a World Cup, if you're going to win the World Cup, you've got 7 games and it's all about momentum. You look at the last time we did well in the World Cup, Italia 90, we started off slowly, But then you game by game, the momentum just becomes such. If we win against Belgium, it just goes up another level, and just we hit the ground running going into the knockout stages. So absolutely go for the win. And if it didn't go for the win, as an England fan, I'd be really annoyed by that.
I think so, and I think you're right. It's about momentum, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
if you go in and play at 70%, and also if you lose, it's kind of the next game you're out if you lose, and so you've got to put everything into it, and you've got to get on that full momentum, which is why I think Kane should play, and I think he probably will.
Yeah.
So, what's your prediction for score? England, Belgium.
I hope it's like I said. I hope it's got a Premier League feel. I'd love to see, a couple of England scoring, Belgium replying. I'd love to see a 2-2 or something like that. Maybe England can snatch it with another a late win. But a lot of goals, a nice pace to it. Basically the opposite of France-Denmark the other day.
Well, let's hope it's not that. There was about one shot in the whole game. The first and only 0-0 draw so far. Let's hope it's the last 0-0 draw. So let's look forward to the knockout stages. We know we're in them, and we know that the Belgium game doesn't matter in that sense. Whatever happens, we're through. So last 16, we're going to play one of 3 teams.
Yeah.
From group. We're in Group G. They're Group H. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're either going to play Japan, Senegal, or Colombia.
Colombia, correct.
Who do you think you want to play out of those 3? Who do England want?
For me, Japan.
Yeah.
I think Japan are a team that would be suspect to set pieces, and historically they're overachieving by making it through to knockout rounds. So it's a big game for them, and I think the occasion might get to them. Colombia look very dangerous. I do not want to play Colombia, to be perfectly honest with you. They were unlucky to lose their first game. They played most of it with 10 men. So I don't think that first game where they lost to Japan, I don't think that's a reflection of what Colombia are at all. When they beat Poland the other night, they looked unstoppable. Yeah. I fully expect them to win the game against Senegal. I think Japan might draw with Poland. So I do think Colombia will still win the group, to be honest. So I think. So
does that mean we want to win our group?
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a lot of
maths involved
at
this stage, aren't there?
It all depends on what happens in Group H. I think Colombia will win Group H. Therefore, we would want to win our group and get Japan. I think that's the best case scenario. But again, it's all permutations. There's 3 teams we can possibly play. I think we're looking at either Japan or Colombia.
And if it were to be Senegal, you think that would be a tough match as well?
No, I think Senegal are quite a cautious team, so you can be expecting a lot of the ball, and you can be expecting having to break them down. I wouldn't be as worried about Senegal as I would be Colombia. So, but Senegal, I don't think they're going to beat Colombia, to be honest with them. They're a bit too cautious, and I think Colombia will win that game and unfortunately eliminate Senegal. But that's just my prediction.
Okay, so that game, the last 16 game, will be either on Monday or Tuesday next week, depending on whether we come first or second. We come first, it's Monday, is that right?
Yeah.
Second, it's the Tuesday night. Both evening games, 7 o'clock. And then, of course, this is always tempting fate, but if we were to get through the last 16 match, quarter-final permutations are, it looks likely that we'd have to play someone pretty good.
Yeah, Brazil or Germany, basically. We're kind of looking at those two. But again, if you've won your last 16 game, and if we've won it tomorrow night against Belgium, I think the momentum is such that you just don't fear anyone at that stage. And Brazil or Germany, neither have looked convincing. They haven't got going at all. No,
I mean, I don't think either team at the moment looks that impressive. However, obviously, that's when you start getting to, it's a young squad, it's a youngish manager. Do they have the steel? Do they have because that's when it comes down. A lot of it's in your head, I think. You play in Germany with the history, and to a certain extent, I remember 2002 and Ronaldinho and David Seaman, and there's a lot of reasons to be psyched out by both those teams, right? Yeah, the message is to be fearless and just go for it. And I think quarterfinals, that's our maximum. Like that's where everyone thought we would. That's our best possible achievement. So anything above quarterfinals is a complete bonus. So if you lose in the quarterfinals, it's not the end of the world. So go in there with a fearless attitude, just go for it and see what happens. So it's 52 years of hurt. Do you think England, with this team, this squad, this manager, could win the World Cup? I think why not? I just think why not? I don't. I know we haven't faced any formidable opposition yet, but I just think when you've got someone like Harry Kane,
when you've got players like Rashford and Vardy to still become involved, when you've got someone like Sterling who could still play himself into form. Lingard's fantastically confident. I just think why not? In Match of the Day magazine, we tempted fate massively by asking an artist called Dave Merrill to recreate a famous scene, the Bobby Moore scene where he's being hoisted on his shoulders in 1966. So we got him to recreate that with Harry Kane and Vardy and Rashford and Ali. So we've absolutely, you know, we've jinxed it basically. Blame us if it doesn't happen, but
we do have it available.
Yeah,
if we do win,
it's the best souvenir you could ever hope to have if England do win it, and it's available as a poster in our issue that's on sale now. But we didn't mind doing that because our readers are very young. They've not gone through the penalty heartache yet. They think it's normal to come into the World Cup and win game 6-1, so they all think England are going to win it. So we just, you know, we rolled with their positivity, gave them the cover they wanted, and it's, you know, doubles up as an amazing souvenir for any England fan if we do it.
And if we do it, who do you think would be the teams to beat? Who are the other contenders for the World Cup this year?
I think I'm worried about, you know, the Mexicos, Croatia, Colombia's. I just think I've got a weird, you know, Leicester feeling about this. You know, an unknown team could come through and surprise us all.
Like England?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Absolutely. And I think the big teams have been a little bit disappointing. Germany, Brazil, France haven't got going at all. Uruguay picking up a bit of momentum, but I've not seen anything from, you know, the so-called big teams. Argentina, I think they've been very lucky to make it through. So Spain, very susceptible at the back. So there's chinks in the armour of every team, and that's what makes it exciting. Anything can happen.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to have to wait to find out what happens on Thursday night. But thanks very much, Ketch, from Match of the Day magazine, for joining us here with RadioTimes.com, and we'll be talking more World Cup very soon.